I still remember it's at Woodlands.
What's your name?
Dr. Rex.
How do you spell?
R-E-E-S.
What's your name? Your name is Red. Oh, okay. This is doctor.
I am not a medical doctor or DDH, just expert in science and medicine.
So Mr. lah actually.
No, doctor.
You just a doctorate, right?
No, this nickname is given by my teacher.
How old are you?
No, sorry, it's a
You are 20?
yes. And this is the second time I'm working also. And my younger sister, she's this one.
You're resident, where do you stay?
We stay at Bukit Panjang.
Oh, okay. But which part?
Which one?
Liangxuan.
No.
Jelapang is
It's
I
under
see.
cashew.
Just under cashew.
Ah.
The cashew.
Hmm?
I mean,
Life already. Life.
you always just
Do you keep
Sometimes I do cosplay also.
in touch with the development?
Come here as a woman.
Not so much.
Yeah, like that is me. And that is me also.
You think
And that's
local
my
party
brother.
can keep his seat
We
in
went back to New York
Aljunied?
City.
Hey, people are betting, no? Local party will increase the majority, no? But I don't think so. They will keep the seat.
We serve.
Whatever you talk,
Good one.
everybody can
This.
hear. It's on the.
Oh, your mic is the other way now. Huh?
Party.
Oh, straight stop. Oh, I thought your camera is aimed here. There's a... This one on air.
Yeah, it's my name also.
Ah.
And
Still like,
Yao Ming, my comrade Raju.
it's these four. These four of them. Yeah.
anyone in particular.
He's the main person. He's because he helped me a lot. Like I still remember when I was in Japanese school. He was cheated by my ex for my I think half a year overtime.
Okay.
So
I'll just pay you lah.
no, he paid me but he didn't pay my overtime.
Okay.
So I was very angry and furious.
So he helped you.
Yes, he helped me. He helped me a lot by writing a letter to MOM. And 2 days later, MOM sent a letter back to me. And I go to MOM straight away. Yeah, I get back. Yeah, my OT payment. At least like around $100. I mean, $1,000. So you
This
have
was when?
remember it's 2000. I think it's 2000. No, not last year.
他们这个有171个人是吧？
Yeah, 2014 last year.
他们那个 Web 看有171个人。
I usually influenced by my father to support SDP. But so I listen to him, then I support SDP. But I regret. I regret. I should work PAP.
But you know, red is SDP color.
Yeah. Although it's ex-TV color, but don't mean I want to support them. No, I won't support them until I die.
Okay.
No.
It's just red is for Singapore.
And my name is because my big brother, his name is called Rex. It's spelled R-U-X.
Oh.
But yeah, but he went back to.
You're here alone.
Yeah, he went because usually the rally with my big brother, but he went back to New York City last year. But he will do a booking over there. And my place is
这那么
okay. No, 有單細數嘅，嗰啲細數嘅。Making fast, before I get numb. No. I've been here for since 4 p.m. already. Ah.
Why you so excited?
A year. I mean, a year. Younger.
26
No, because next month is my birthday.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Yeah, sure. No. Yeah. Okay, you contact me. Okay, it's 8691 6775 775. You're the invisible woman. CN. You're the invisible woman. Yeah, no, I show you the practical.
Hi, PAP supporters. Hi, everyone. Hello, everyone.
PAP rocks! PAP rocks!
Thank you. Okay, residents, supporters, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to our PAP rally. Before that, I'm Priya, your MC for tonight. Together with me, I have...
I'm Daisy.
All right, so we'll be your MPs for tonight. So we have prepared some chairs for our senior citizens. So please do give up the seats for this group of people. And also do keep our place clean and green by not littering. And there are dustbins provided around for you to dispose your rubbish. Thank you so much.
亲爱的居民朋友、同胞们，大家晚上好！非常感谢大家参加人民行动党的群众大会。那我们为了大家准备了椅子，希望大家也能够发挥礼让精神哦，能够让给那些年长和有需要的人士。同时也请大家帮忙保持这个地方的整齐。把这些垃圾不要用的东西呢，请你丢进垃圾桶，好不好啊？好，谢谢大家的合作哦。
Okay, welcome to our PAP rally tonight. So tonight we have candidates from Holland Bukit Timah GRC. Okay, Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan. Woo! Miss Sim N. Woo! Mr. Liang Inghua. Woohoo! And Mr. Christopher De Souza.
Wow!
So they will be sharing with us their thoughts and their vision for this general election, as well as our residents and supporters.
今晚的人民行动党群众大会，我们有来自荷兰五级芝麻集选区的4名候选人，他们分别是维文医生、沈颖女士、连荣华先生以及蒂苏扎先生。
So now without further ado, let's invite our first speaker, Mr. Jega. He'll be conveying his speech in Tamil and English.
现在让我们邀请第一位站台的发言人，他的名字叫做 Mr. Jega， 他将以大米尔语和英语来发言，请大家掌声欢迎他。
Hello, everybody. 大家晚上好。大家好不？ Please allow me to speak in my mother tongue, Tamil. அன்பார்ந்த குடியிருப்பாளர்களே மற்றும் நண்பர்களே வணக்கம். நான் ஹாலண்ட் புக்கெட் தீமா தொகுதியில் புக்கெட் பஞ்சாங் நகரத்தில் வசிக்கிறேன். கடந்த 4 ஆண்டுகளில் நமது பேட்டையில் பல வட்டார மேம்பாடுகள் மற்றும் போக்குவரத்து மேம்பாடுகளை பார்த்திருக்கிறேன். நம்முடைய ஹாலண்ட் புக்கெட் தீமா தொகுதி வேட்பாளர்கள் 2011ஆம் ஆண்டு தேர்தலில் கொடுத்த வாக்கை நிறைவேற்றி விட்டனர். மக்கள் செயல் கட்சியை சார்ந்த டாக்டர் விவியன் பாலகிருஷ்ணன், குமாரி சிம்ஆன், திரு லியாங் எங்ஹுவா, திரு கிறிஸ்டபர் டிசூசா தொடர்ந்து உங்களுக்கும் உங்கள் குடும்பத்தினருக்கும் உழைப்பாளர்கள் என நம்புகிறேன். இந்த ஆண்டு நாம் தேசத்தின் 50வது ஆண்டு நிறைவை ஒன்றுபட்ட மக்களாக கொண்டாடினோம். ஓர் இளைய குடிமகனாகிய நான் நமது சிங்கை கடந்த 50 ஆண்டுகளின் பயணத்தை கண்டு பெருமை அடைகிறேன். ஒரு சிறு மீன்பிடி கிராமமாக திகழ்ந்த நமது சிங்கை இன்று வானளாவிய கட்டடங்களுடன் திகழ்கிறது. நமது சிங்கப்பூர் சந்தர்ப்ப சூழ்நிலையால் உருவாகவில்லை. நமது அரசாங்கத்தின் கடுமையான உழைப்பால் நமது நாடு உலக அளவில் பெரும் வளர்ச்சி அடைந்துள்ளது. எனவே வரும் 11ஆம் தேதி மக்கள் செயல் கட்சிக்கு உங்கள் வாக்கை கொடுங்கள். உங்களுடன் உங்களுக்காக சிங்கப்பூருக்காக மக்கள் செயல் கட்சிக்கு வாக்களியுங்கள். Dear residents, I live in Bukit Panjang town for the last 16 years. In the last 4 years, I've seen significant developments in our estates, especially in the transport arena. Mr. Liang Enghua, my MP during the last term, has worked very hard to boost the transport connectivity in Bukit Panjang town. By adding more buses, improving the capacity and reliability of the LRT system. The PAP team at Holland Bukit Timah GRC have delivered their GE 2011 promises. At this juncture, it is important that we ask 3 questions. Who do you trust? that will take care of our families? Who do you think that will lead us to better lives? Who will be able to better represent our concerns and voices in Parliament? My answer is the People's Action Party. In order for the Holland Bukit Timah GRC People's Action Party team to continue to work with you, for you and for Singapore, vote PAP. Majulah PAP.
Thank you, Mr. Jega. Our next speaker is Mr. Michael Chia. He'll be addressing us in English.
下一位发言人是 Mr. Michael Chia， 他将以英语发言。
Residents of Holland Bukit Timah, supporters of the PAP, fellow Singaporeans, good evening. I've been asked to speak in support of Ms. Sim Ann. When I first met Sim Ann many years ago, I just started out serving in the grassroots. She was a fellow grassroots leader in Bukit Timah. The MP and grassroots advisor was then Mrs. Yufu Yishun. I started serving in 2006. That's almost 10 years ago. But Sim Ann started serving way before I had. During Dr. Wang Kai Yuan's time, Dr. Wang was the MP for Bukit Timah before Mrs. Yufu Yishun. Guess what? Sim Ann is 4 years younger than me, which means she's younger than me, yet she served longer than me. On top of that, Sim Ann was a civil servant back then. So basically, she was serving the nation full-time. That's on top of being a mother and a wife. From a fellow volunteer, Sim Ann became my grassroots boss in 2011 when she and her GRC colleagues beat the SDP. She became MP and grassroots advisors overseeing Bukit Timah. How has it been working with Sim Ann? Personally, for me, very challenging. Why? Because she works very hard, harder than any one of us. So we need to work very hard to catch up with her. You have seen it with your own eyes, right? If you've seen her working, give her a round of applause. She has been knocking on every door. She has walked every street in Holland Bukit Timah, in the Bukit Timah division. Not just in the past 2 weeks, in the past 4 years. You've met her on the ground. Why does she do it? So that she can get to know you, to know your concerns, and to find solutions for you. If you're not at home, she'll come back knocking again. She never misses an MPS session if she can help it. She will meet every resident who wants to meet her. She is proactive too. She anticipates problems and goes about solving them as soon as she spots them. She has helped many of you. You know who you are. So often I have to drop my work in the office to join her in her meetings with government agencies. She would call them up for meetings when she comes across issues in the community that concerns residents. She will not defend the agencies if residents' concerns are legitimate. She will see to it that the agencies get it right. It's also very challenging for me to work for her because she's very smart. Government agencies that deal with her will agree with me. You cannot persuade her that something cannot be done. When she suggests a solution, she has already thought it through and knows that it will work. So in a nutshell, very xiong to work with her. but all for a good cause, for the good of the residents of Holland Bukit Timah. Someone once shared this quote with me. They said, patriotism is not a short, frenzied outburst of emotion, but the tranquil and steady dedication of a lifetime. Dear Singaporeans, don't be taken in by the frenzied outbursts of these people from the SDP. They come round once in a blue moon and make a lot of noise, especially during these past 2 weeks. Look carefully at who has been calmly and steadily serving you these past 4 years. Sim Ann and her GRC colleagues. Now you really have to ask yourself how you should vote. These past 2 days, I saw a Facebook post by a young girl, 19 years old, right? In the past 2 days, there's already 6,000 likes on her post and about 3,000 shares. And what does this young lady tell us? To those who can vote, I say before you cast your vote, think about who has the interests of Singaporeans and Singapore at heart. Who truly cares? Who's the most honest and capable? Think about who has promised and delivered. Think about who has been with this country through thick and thin and never given up. Think about who can bring Singapore forward 50 years and beyond. Touch your hearts and ask these questions without double standards. Because this vote that you cast isn't just for yourself, but for all of us and future generations who are unable to vote yet. Dear Singaporeans, this election is about our families, our homes, our future. Don't fool around with your vote. This young girl, Justina, can't vote yet. She's just 19. You can, I can, we can. Think carefully before you cast your vote. Vote wisely. Vote for Sim Ann. Vote for her GRC team. Vote PAP, the only party that is with you, for Singapore. Majulah PAP! Majulah Singapura!
Thank you, Mr. Michael. The third speaker is Mr. Ishak. He'll be speaking to us in Malay.
让我们欢迎下一位发言者 Mr. Ishak， 他将以马来语发言。
Saudara-saudari, rakan setanah air sekalian, bersama warga Singapura dan PAP telah mengatasi pelbagai rintangan untuk berada dalam keadaan yang amat baik sekarang. Kami akan meneruskan semangat boleh buat atau can do ini untuk menghadapi cabaran-cabaran hari muka. Semenjak 4 tahun yang lalu, anda telah memberi kepercayaan penuh kepada pasukan anggota Parlimen GRC Holland Bukit Timah. Dalam masa tersebut, anda telah berinteraksi dan bekerjasama dengan mereka untuk menjadikan GRC Holland Bukit Timah ini sebuah kediaman yang lebih baik dan yang boleh dibanggakan. Dalam kerja-kerja sukarela saya di sesi MPS atau sesi bertemu penduduk yang diadakan saban minggu, saya pernah bertemu dengan sebuah keluarga. Ketua keluarga ini bekerja dengan pendapatan yang kecil dan sedang dibebani dengan masalah kewangan kerana ada di antara ahli keluarga ini yang menghidapi penyakit kronik dan beberapa anak kecil lagi yang masih bersekolah rendah. Beliau sangat bimbang akan keadaan ini. Namun dengan sokongan dan bantuan anggota parlimen kami, Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan, keluarga ini telah dibantu untuk mendapatkan bantuan kewangan. Selain itu, keluarga ini telah diberi bantuan penjagaan atau rawatan kesihatan yang sangat baik dan yang termampu. Anak-anak kecil mereka juga yang masih bersekolah diberi bantuan kewangan selain bantuan wang saku untuk bersekolah. Ini adalah satu contoh akan usaha gigih dan sumbangan yang diberikan oleh anggota parlimen PAP kami. Senario seperti ini akan sentiasa berulang dan saya percaya akan terus dibantu. Di peringkat akar umbi pula, para anggota Parlimen PAP giat dalam menggalakkan para penduduk berinteraksi sesama para penduduk yang lain tanpa mengira kaum atau kepercayaan agama. Kegiatan-kegiatan bahasa, kebudayaan dan pendidikan dan lain-lain amat titik beratkan oleh mereka. Perayaan-perayaan kaum Cina, India dan Melayu seperti sambutan Tahun Baru Cina, perayaan Deepavali dan Hari Raya Aidilfitri sesungguhnya dapat mempertingkatkan hubungan akrab antara penduduk khususnya di GRC Holland Bukit Timah ini, dan inilah juga yang sangat digalakkan untuk diadakan oleh para anggota parlimen kami. Secara umumnya, kegiatan seperti ini meningkatkan hubungan harmoni di antara kaum dan menambah kestabilan sosial negara Singapura yang dicintai ini. Secara proaktif, para anggota parlimen PAP kami kerap mengadakan sesi bertemu penduduk atau house-to-house visit. Tidak lain, sesi ini adalah untuk mendekati dan mengetahui ehwal kami dan sekaligus kami dapat mengutarakan keprihatinan kami tentang pelbagai isu yang membelenggu kehidupan kami. Kegiatan ini adalah bertentangan sekali dengan apa yang dilakukan oleh pihak pembangkang yang timbul hanya pada musim pilihan raya dan menghilang setelah tamat musim ini, dan yang hanya mampu memberi gambaran yang samar-samar akan apa yang akan dilakukan untuk anda dan Singapura. Sedang kita hidup dalam dunia yang penuh dengan ranjau dan kurang kepastian dan bertambahnya persaingan, Singapura mesti melakukan sebaik mungkin bagi melindungi masa depan kita dan masa depan anak-anak kita. Saya yakin hanya kerajaan pimpinan PAP yang dapat melakukannya. Terdapat juga banyak perkara yang patut disyukuri. Singapura adalah sebuah negara yang selamat, rukun dan damai. Malah ia adalah antara kota yang sangat nyaman didiami dalam dunia. Kerajaan pimpinan PAP sentiasa bekerjasama dengan anda untuk menjadikannya lebih baik dan terus selamat pada masa-masa mendatang. Bersama, kita mesti mempunyai impian besar, berusaha mencapai masa depan yang gemilang untuk diri kita dan untuk Singapura. Kita mesti berani dan bersemangat serta berusaha seberapa daya untuk menjadikan impian dan aspirasi kita satu kenyataan. Anda boleh bergantung kepada para calon PAP kerana kami akan berusaha sedaya upaya untuk menyantuni keperluan anda. Ini adalah janji kami, janji PAP. Masa depan Singapura terletak di tangan anda, pada undi anda. Undilah dengan penuh hemah dan berwibawa. Percayalah kami, yakinilah kami dan sokonglah kami. PAP akan bekerja dengan anda dan untuk anda bagi merintis Singapura di hari esok. Sekali lagi, undilah PAP. Undilah PAP. Majulah Singapura. Terima kasih.
One more time, the cheer for PAP.
Undilah PAP.
Majulah PAP.
Thank you, Mr. Ishak. So up next, our next speaker would be Ms. Chu Kai-in. She'll be conveying her speech in Mandarin.
下一位发言的是 Miss Chu Kai-in， 她将以华语发言。
大家晚上好，我是周佳音，来自乌鲁班丹居民俱乐部，也是无锡芝麻区的居民。我到现在还可以记得那个我小的时候，每逢下大雨的时候，我们邻里家园就会淹水。那么呢，由于排水的问题呢，当时的大小水沟一旁的道路一下大雨就淹水，造成很大的不便。那影响到我们上学，也是家长上班。当时我还记得，我还得赤着脚，提起我的一双鞋子，试水，上学或回家。有的时候为了安全，还在路上要等到几个小时才能够回家。回想起来，这些日子都已经过去了。我们已经享受到前人种树，后人乘凉的幸福生活。就个人而言，住在无稽之马，我从来没有奢望过在这个区域能够享受地铁列车的便利。如今，地铁很快就通到我家附近了。 这个过去是遥不可及的梦想，现在居然很快就能够落实了，太不可思议！这不是美梦成真吗？自幼年小的时候呢，我的父母亲教导我们做人要懂得感恩，我们拥有的一切都不是理所当然的，因此我们应该珍惜我们所有拥有的一切。我们必须感恩于我们国家3代领导人带领我们取得今天的成就跟生活水平。所谓饮水思源，原文落其食者思其树，饮其流者怀其源。原子说，就是喝水的时候要知道水是从哪里来的，比喻我们不能够忘本的意思。今天我们拥有的一切都不是从天而降的，是我们3代领导人经过了50多年的努力跟付出换来的。我们应该感到庆幸，我们的国家领导人是有远见，他们说到做到，实现承诺，展望将来，为我们的将来的50年，我们国家继续繁荣安定，定下了接近完美的蓝图。为了我们的家园，为了我们的家庭，为了我们的家园，为了我们的未来，我们必须用明亮的双眼、清醒的头脑、明智的选择，把能计划者逐于行动，然后实现的领导人。同胞们，当你投下神圣的一票之前，请你一定要三思，把票投给让我们能够看到有成绩的政党，对不对？谁让我们的国家富强，看到我们的国民的生活水平提高，看到我们的儿女能安全的在安全的环境长大，让我们就要支持他，对不对？谁让我们看到人民居者有其屋，看到我们的老年人能安度晚年，看到我们的人民有工作有钱赚，我们就要支持他，对不对？当我们出国工作或旅游，外国人是如何仰慕新加坡这小红点的辉煌成就，我们手上持的是新加坡护照，感到无比的荣耀跟自豪的时候，是谁造就今天的新加坡？ PAP PAP PAP， 谢谢。
是的，我们的国家有今天的成就，是靠人民行动党和居民一起努力的成果。让我们再一次给我们的党加油 ！PAP。
PAP, right. Thank you so much, Ms. Chiu. Our next speaker, Mr. Lim Chai Hin. He'll be addressing us in English.
下一位发言者是 Mr. Lim Chai Hin， 他将以英语发言。
Fellow Singaporeans and friends, good evening. I will be 64 years old later this month, which means I'm older than SG 50. So allow me to share some experience of my childhood, which is very clear in my mind, very vivid. I grew up in a kampong where sanitation, if any, is very poor. Would you know what kind of vehicle is most welcome into the kampong? Bicycle? No. It is a vehicle or a lorry with 36 doors. 36个门的路车，会累的车，什么车？36个门，一边18个细门，做什么的？倒屎的。Why is this welcome in the kampong? Because if this vehicle don't show up, it means the soil carrier or the shit collector, if I may say, is on strike. Then all the kampong people have to go and dig holes in the ground, in the field, to bury the full bucket of. Also, when it floods, the bucket will just float like oil tanker in the ocean, float out to the field. Some will capsize, and of course, the content will be floating all over the place. Why do I bring up this subject? Because a lot of our younger Singaporeans have not experienced this and other unpleasant matters that I encountered when I was growing up. Now, what they need to do is just to press a button. Sometimes don't even need to press a button. And the flush of water will take care of it. Now, the government have done more than that, giving you a flush of water. They will reclaim this and other wastewater. New water will reduce our reliance on imported water. My mother used to tell me, if you don't study hard, you will be like the night soil collector. This frightened me, and this alone will spur me on to study very hard, because the thought of doing the job is enough. I was then able to further my study overseas. And this is only possible because my father's business succeed in line with the PAP government's economic success. Now, I pay back to the government and the community by volunteering my service as a grassroots leader in Ulu Pandan. And I hope I can help someone succeed. Therefore, will all Singaporeans join me to vote for PAP? Vote for the party who has more than 50 years of proven experience. I do not trust my children's future and their children's future to any party who has no experience and only come and test water every 5 years. Some say you need to buy insurance. Do you need to buy insurance? Some say they will work with PAP. Do we need them to work with us? No. And above all, I do not wish that the country return to the days of the bucket. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lim. All right, we are up on stage, so we are going to invite all the candidates up. So do remember to give your fullest support to them. Okay, let's give our loudest cheer to all our candidates from Holland Bukit Timah GRC.
现在让我们以热烈的掌声和欢呼声来欢迎我们人民行动党荷兰五级芝麻集选区的候选人上台。
candidates of Holland Bukit Timah GRC, Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan,
韦文医生、
Miss Sim Ann,
沈莹女士、
Mr. Liang Yinghua.
连荣华先生。
Together with them, we have our former MP, Mrs. Yufu Yishun.
还有我们的前荷兰五级芝麻集选区国会议员福喜全女士，欢迎她。
Okay, so now let's invite our next speaker, who's our former MP for Holland Bukit Timah GRC. She was serving us there. Let's put our hands together and welcome Mrs. Yufu Yishun.
让我们再一次欢迎福喜全女士，让她来为我们的党打气。
大家晚上好。Good evening. Selamat malam. Vanakkam. 各位亲爱的人民，我那天有问这句话，就是说，当我们在庆祝新加坡金禧年的时候，我们给我们自己跟我们的国家打几分？100分。哇！我最近跟很多这些外国使节有一些接触，他们都说给新加坡打 A star。那我A star， 但是我认为呢，可能我们要谦虚一点，我们给自己打大概80多分哈。也就是说，我们最近听了人民的一些回馈，一路来我们都跟人民有这个沟通，我们发现还有大概10多到28%的地方，我们还在逐步的改善，不可能做到100分。但是行动党是一个前进的政党，我们不会坐下来不了解人民的心声，所以我们会逐步的跟人民合作，怎么样的改善。所以呢，行动党是一个与时俱进的政党。同时我也问一个问题，就是说我们庆祝金禧年可以讲是全世界的一个奇迹，一个蛋黄的小国，什么都没有。很多人都问我们，他们派很多部长，派很多市长，派很多官员来学习。所以我们庆祝金禧年的时候，另外一个问题我一直在问，接着下来的50年，我们会一样的辉煌吗？你们认为呢？所以我们的建国总理李光耀执政，有人访问他，他说接下来的50年会比现在的50年更好。那么李显仁总理在我们的这个国庆这个机会也讲，接下来的50年会比现在的50年更好。我个人也相信，我个人也深信，但是我认为有一些条件，我们要怎么样更好。也就是说，我们现在受教育都很高，不管是公立学院、大学毕业、硕士、博士等等，那么我们的生活也逐步在改进，但是有一些基本的东西，新加坡是没有办法改进的。有时候讲起来，大家听了好像很不顺耳，但是这个是事实来的。第一，我们的国防，你看最近世界各国难民冒着生命的危险，到处去寻求人家收留他们。你看到报纸有登一些小孩子死了，被海浪吹到岸边，这悲惨的故事，为什么会发生在他们的国家呢？难道新加坡就永远可以避免吗？所以国防呢，我们一定要做到安定、稳定。所以我们要感谢全部国防的人员， 全部的这些阿兵哥，对吗？在这边的男士们。第二，我们要永远保持一个廉洁、开明的政府。我们一定要选一个政党，已经证明给我们看是廉洁的。李显龙总理有说，我们是不容忍任何的贪污，英文就是说 zero tolerance，zero tolerance。所以我们不允许任何人贪污，而且党里面已经树立了很严谨的条规。那么我们公务员也是有很严格的这个举例。我今天被邀请去参加联合国的反贪污的论坛，联合国成立了反贪污的论坛。我听了以后，听了蛮伤心的。怎么样消除世界政治领导人不贪污？其实贪污很容易就陷入进去的，你懂吗？很容易的，谁看到钱不要？所以我要感谢新加坡的人民，跟我们的过去的领导带我们进去这个50年的惊喜年，建立了这个可靠的新加坡的信用的威望。我们新加坡现在最大的威望就是信用。我现在是中医委员会的主任，的主席。你懂很多药人家送给我什么补药，我不敢吃嘞。但是如果有新加坡的品牌印一下，可能人家比较敢吃，对吗？这个就是新加坡的品牌。所以希望呢，我们继续选一个可靠的、不贪污的政府，人民行动党的候选人。第三，全民教育。我很高兴呢，我们教育部现在由黄瑞杰部长还有沈颖部长在担任，他们很有勇气，就是全民教育不只是教育幼稚园、托儿所跟我们中学、公益学院、大学，更重要的是也配合劳工部、配合职工总会，继续训练我们这一代。我还在学英语，我还在学电脑，我还在学电话。这个电话每4个月就换，你懂吗？如果我们不学我们跟我们的孙不能够沟通我们跟我们的朋友也不可以沟通，对吗？那么工作上面呢更需要。所以呢，我有看到很多民生的问题。民生的问题，我认为他们提到这个最低工资等等呢，都不是长远的方法。最好的方法是我们每个趁政府给我们这个基金呢，继续去学习，有一技之长，我们提升生产力，我们就可以要求雇主给我们更高的这个薪金。所以全民教育，新加坡已经做到了。你懂小孩子去托儿所多少钱吗？每个月这个家庭收入少过1900块的多少钱？你们知道吗？很多人跟我说几十块，不是3块，所以很多人不相信那最后一点呢，我要提的就是民生的问题。那民生衣食住行是最重要的。其实我们的医院、我们的地铁、我们的主屋等等，都是世界的人士来学习的。他们要学习我们的秘诀是什么？为什么居者有其屋？但是我刚才有说，基本的东西我们都做到了，但是呢，还有10多到20%呢要待改善。那么我们选这些好的部长、能干的部长，他们是能够有能力去改善的。今天我要想借这个机会介绍我们的这些好的候选人。维文部长是一个眼科专科，他还没有参与政治的时候呢，是中央医院的执行主任，出名的医生，他也可以过着很舒适的生活。他出来呢，就是要为人民服务。那么我在 MCYS 也跟他做过事，不懂你们知道不知道？ 联络所有挂一个心就是社区关怀基金 （Community Care Foundation）， 你们有看到吗？就是说，如果需要帮忙的话，就找这个基金。这个就是他做部长的时候成立的。有时候呢，他比我更爱心、更关怀。他认为我太严格了，应该多帮忙需要帮忙的人。还有呢，等到他现在在管这个环境部的时候，第一件事情，他就研究这个小贩中心。你们有注意到所以现在呢，他增加了20间小贩中心，还增加了很多新的小贩中心。小贩中心就是我们人们到那边能够得到合理的价钱，吃到一个好的一餐。所以我很感激他，我自己也去小贩中心。所以好的部长，他不只是解决这个五季芝麻这带现在不涨水了，对不对？我们以为说理所当然的。所以我问他，为什么最近不涨水了？他就做了很多沟渠。那么我们的水，去年没有，就是干旱的时候，我们邻近的国家有借水，我们没有借水，为什么？就是他们的政策。你懂台湾跟有一些国家，他们漏水那个水管漏水58%呢。我们这边呢 ，PUB 每年都到全新加坡去查。看怎么样来修理我们的这些水管等等，所以有些事情我们一般人民呢，我们没有去注意，其实他们这些部长呢都在处理。好像我们现在说，全世界的气温暖化，以后海水会越来越多。维文部长跟那个部长已经成立了小组去研究，50年后、100年后，如果海水增加，新加坡怎么办？他们已经在研究。那么最近总理也叫他研究这个智慧国家 （Smart Nation）， 这些都是要很有领导能力、很有细心的头脑、很有这个精细的头脑来替我们策划。所以你们现在选的人是选未来的带我们进入50年代的。那么现在讲你陈颖部长，因为他在我们五季芝麻基层工作了9年。我觉得像他这样做到很高的这个政府的官员出来，为什么？也是为了要做一些事。所以他在教育部管双语双文化，尤其呢在推动给孩子学习方面找出新的方案，跟黄瑞介部长一起并肩的为我们的学校、为我们的学生改变了很多政策。我最佩服的政策是。他们第一个部改变全部老师的薪水跟提升的这个政策，也就是说，老师进来的时候，不管是博士、硕士或者奖学金得主，或者大学毕业生跟非大学毕业生，以后呢进来的时候起薪不一样，但是以后就看老师的表现，看老师有没有爱心，看老师会指引导学生。看老师使到学生学习的程度，来决定老师是不是被升级，而并不是老师是不是奖学金得主。所以我很恭喜他们呢，有这个勇气，第一个步来推行这个。那么你们另外2位候选人，连延华，我们的国会议员，他是银行界的领导，那么他在他的选区里面很注意人民的衣食住行。好像地铁啦，好像巴萨啦，好像人民的交通等等，他都出了很多力。在国会呢，也常常提出很多金融、财政那方面的建议。那么迪苏珊呢，这个年轻律师呢，他也是很有才干。我在国会最欣赏的时候，他很有原则的。好像他最近我听说他提了这个贩卖人口。trafficking 的这个问题呢，这个是全世界的一个问题。很多人为了拿钱，就把贫穷国家的孩子、贫穷国家的妇女、少女卖到别的国家。他通过了这个方案，在国会是以私人，就是以这个个别国会议员，所以非常有勇气，非常有才华，而且愿意花很多时间去研究这方面的课题，才能够说服国会，说服政府 我听说反对党跟我们行动党都支持他这个方案，所以在这边总的来讲呢，你们荷兰五级之马的这个4位代表呢，我认为是很有才干、很有爱心，又有各方面的才华的候选人。希望你们9月11号投他们一票，投行动党一票，为我们子孙，为未来50年投行动党一票。谢谢。
谢谢福喜全女士。大家要投 PAP 对不对？
Before I invite the candidates up to address us, I'd like to invite the 4th candidate for Holland Bukit Timah GRC, Mr. Christopher De Souza.
让我们欢迎我们的候选人 De Souza 先生。
So the first candidate to address us from Holland Bukit Timah GRC, Mr. Liang Yinghua.
让我们欢迎荷兰5级芝麻集选区的候选人连荣华先生。
谢谢大家 ，Thank you, Thank you. Friends, residents, supporters, thank you for being here to join us for this rally. Singapore is a small country in terms of our population, in terms of our land mass. Hence, we have a single-tier system of government and a single-tier parliament, meaning unlike countries, we have federal, states, and local government. In Singapore, it's just one layer. Therefore, in our system, MPs, as the people's representative who represent our constituents, have 2 important roles to play. At the national level, to scrutinize and to debate policies, to deal with national issues such as the budget, the security of Singapore, economy, the social uplifting, education, transport, and many others. So there are many national issues we need to deal with, and some with long-term plans, some are very much long-term in nature. At the local level, the MPs also play a very important role to ensure that our day-to-day well-being of our residents are taken care of. So MPs got to come up with local plans to execute, improvement plans, address problems that the residents face, transport, we have dealt with a lot in our estates, in our towns. Seek more social amenities, more facilities for our residents, helping to resolve, for example, neighbor dispute, neighbors not having problems with one another, social assistance, cleanliness, including checking drains if we have to make sure that things are working well in our estates. I know some SDP candidates have said that MP should not be doing this. But let me tell you this is our responsibility. We need to take care of the national issues, and we need to take care of our residents' day-to-day life. This is our system. We have to be able to fulfill both these duties and responsibility to our voters. And we owe it to our residents to be able to tackle both issues, national issues, the long-term progress of Singapore, the long-term challenges of Singapore, as well as local issues on the ground that affects our residents' day-to-day lives. And if we cannot do both, or incapable of doing both, or unwilling to do both, then please move aside and let someone else take the job and do it. Clearly, from the campaign so far, our opponents have shown that they have no interest at all to look at local matters. They are only interested to get into parliament for the glamour, for them to make some noises there, for them to give flowery speeches. The candidates have no interest to visit our residents to hear their ground concerns. Have they seriously walked the corridors and the staircase of our HDB blocks? Have they really walked through the private estates? I heard they just cycled through. I don't know whether have they really walked through. Before the campaign started, I heard from residents that they show up in a few blocks, mainly to take some pictures so that they can post it on their Facebook, on their website.
they visited some blocks. One of my residents was very sharp to observe this. He said this group of people, they come, go up to a block, in the next 10 minutes, they come down. So this surely can go to the Singapore Books of Record for the fastest house visit in Singapore. To go in 10 minutes, you're able to engage a resident and come out. So obviously, they are not keen to do that. They are not interested to sweat themselves out to meet the residents at the doorsteps. They probably find this just too much of hard work and find this engagement to us, which is very important, to them, is a waste of time. And I can confirm this because in the last general elections, one of the candidates actually openly said that house visits, meaning going to pay a visit to our residents to hear their concern, is old style. It's a relic of the past. This is what they have said. And in this campaign, day after day, what do? They are only more interested to stage shows on their rallies, to do rallies, one day after day. With the help of teleprompter, they deliver very emotive speeches. I think those emo speeches reminds me of the Taiwanese election, how people say all these things and get the emotion up. In Taiwan, they call it the 悲情牌, you got to tell some sobbing story to get the attention, So I hope everyone, our residents, I hope, not too long ago, you can still remember the crazy idea that have come up with, the SDP have put up in the lead up to the Punggol East by-election. Not too long ago, I think it's 2013. During that by-election, SDP was keen to contest. So they came out with this so-called bright idea, or the hot deal to the Workers' Party, which is that if they win the by-election, SDP candidate will enter Parliament to give speeches, and the WP will run the Punggol East House Council. This is what they have proposed to WP. In other words, they are telling the Workers' Party that let me have the glamorous part of doing speeches in Parliament, but make sure that estates are all kept clean and rubbish is clear, to borrow the words from Mr. Brown when he was trying to ridicule them. The Workers' Party obviously did not bother to reply them. I think the Cantonese word is say, "Choi lei to saw," no point wasting time to even respond to you. So you can trust our opponents to come up with such crazy ideas, and there are many others. We cannot have our MPs who are lazy to work on the ground and only interested in making speeches. If you are thinking of doing that, then you're standing in the wrong election. Our residents expect us to take care of both the national issues as well as the day-to-day issue. I want to say that again. So the choice is very clear for our voters of Holland Bukit Timah GRC. Do you want a team of candidates who just want to give speeches in Parliament and not bothered about local issues? Or you want a team of MPs who is passionate and capable of doing both and to improve your life to secure a better future for Singapore? Talk is always cheap. Action is gold. So let's open our eyes and be careful. Many times in life, the silent, hardworking members of our house, are those that slot very quietly without complaints, are the ones that do the work. Don't be seduced by the occasional strangers who appear once in a while and tell you that they can speak up for you. The PAP team here is not a fly-by-night team. We are with you on the ground every week, every day, helping families, improving our homes, and building communities. This is what we stand for. At yesterday's rally, SDP's rally, Professor Paul Tambaya called me and our supporters xenophobia. I think he said border to xenophobia. When we were trying to express our genuine concerns about his plan to pay all foreign workers higher than market wages. He called us xenophobia. We're trying to express a concern. I think he's missing my point. Let me elaborate what I said, and so hopefully he can understand the implication and the impact. First point, what I pointed out to him is that by paying higher than market wages, which is minimum wage, which is obviously higher than the market, otherwise it's meaningless, to all foreign workers, it will push up the cost and directly hurt our households, hurt our families. It had to be passed on. The businesses will not just absorb it, it had to pass on. Do you call that xenophobia? Because I'm raising a concern that may impact us directly, our household, our families. Point number 2. Foreign workers continue to want to work in Singapore because they find our current wages, the present wages and conditions in Singapore attractive. In Ministry of Manpower exit survey, when they do this survey each time when, often when the foreign workers about to leave Singapore, they'll do some survey to find out from them whether, how's the working condition here and so on. And many will express the wishes to come back to Singapore to work again if they can be given the permit. There are many who want to come back. And if there's the permit can be renewed, they want to come back. So foreign workers are not exploited in Singapore as what they are trying to imply. Point number 3. I have no issue if employers wish to pay their foreign workers higher pay. I have no issue with that. I'm happy for that. But it has to be based on skills, based on the value that the workers can provide, and the ability of the employers to pay those higher salary. And not because Professor Paul Tambaya said you must pay this salary and therefore we have to pay. You got to be based on the skills, the contribution, and then the affordability of the employers. So let's get real about all this stuff because there are serious implications, there's serious impact to our household, our businesses. Of course, we hope that employers will pay Singaporeans more than the foreign workers. I think that's what we always want to. We want Singaporeans to be, the wages to be uplifted, to grow over time. And indeed, in the last few years, have seen good progress on wages moving up. I'll just give you an example on wages going up. In my estates, when we was fairly new, the multi-story car park, the cars that are in the car park, they are usually about 2 to 3 story full. But after about 8-9 years, now the cars, are parking all the way to fourth floor, sometimes 5th floor. So it shows that our residents now, they own more cars. More residents own cars, and it must be because their income has gone up as well, and I'm happy for that. So we still want Singaporeans to be earning more, and but we do not want our Singaporeans to be priced out because the foreign workers in Singapore are getting lower pay. So there's this thing called the foreign workers levy, so that the gap between the foreign workers as well as the Singaporeans are reduced, so that they will not be priced out from the workforce. So these levies received is then plowed back, to help the SMEs by way of grants and rebates, such as the PIC, the ICV, to improve productivities and to reduce costs. So we still need that levies. It's necessary to disincentivize employers from overly hiring foreign workers at the expense of Singaporeans. So I hope Professor Paul Tambaya relook at his policy, study carefully the implications, and don't just come out a statement, a nice, fashionable thing to say we just want minimum wage and so on, and for all. I hope Singaporeans will all continue to earn higher pay. We work fair with progressive wage system, which is a more superior system. I'm sure we can continue to uplift the wages of Singaporeans. We have just celebrated Singapore's 50th anniversary, 50 years of our independence. And Singaporeans are all very proud what we have achieved in the last 50 years. We gained independence under very difficult circumstances. We were kicked out of Malaysia. We did not become independent by our choice, but we certainly has made Singapore a country of our choice. So are we a failed state? Like what the opposition is trying to say, what opposition wants Singaporeans to believe in, that we have failed in many ways. I think we can see for ourselves. We may not be perfect, and that's why we have to continue to improve, continue to aspire to do more, continue to bring better lives for our citizens, for Singaporeans. That's why these are the plans that we have clearly stated out in the PAP manifesto, the long-term plan that we have to really make Singapore the best home, a secure home for all. Let's not forget that Singapore will forever be an island state with no natural resources. That will never change. It's not a case where over time your island get bigger, not by very much, but reclamation won't bring you too much. Not like after over time we have, oil or whatever to come to our island. So we'll always be small, we'll always be lack of resources. Our vulnerability will never go away. Believe me, how can it disappear overnight? So as a tiny country, we have to constantly worry about who's going to bully us, who's going to take away our lunches, who's going to take away our job opportunities. I think that as a country, we are always faced with this challenge. Singapore is located in a rough neighborhood, and every now and then, we can expect larger countries, neighboring countries, some near, some further away, to exert pressure on us. And because we are a small country, so they always find ways to say, I want to pressure you a little bit here, I want you to do this for me, I want you to stop doing this. I mean, they'll always be there because we are a small country. So that won't go away and will continue to be there, which is why we still need a strong defense, we still need strong diplomacy, we still need strong economy and a united people. Countries around us will always be eyeing on opportunities that we are enjoying. They know Singaporeans are having a lot of opportunities. There are work, there are plenty of good job opportunities here. People are having a good life here. I mean, the countries around us, or even further, they're always looking at some of this opportunity. Can we bring it to Singapore, bring it to their own country? Every countries or cities, will want to seek opportunities for their own people. I think that's, understandable. Many major cities in Asia aspire to be the international financial center like what Singapore is, because that will create good value-adding jobs, good pay, good salaries. Many countries want to draw in more direct investments to be the service hub, to be the R&D center, and so on, because that creates jobs, that create opportunities for our people. So in this campaign, I have not seen our opponents address such external challenges. These are real and tough challenges that we have to deal with, but of course they'd rather not get into it because it's not easy. It will mean, certain things that they want to do in their whatever plan they have, it will not be possible because there are all these challenges that we're going to deal with. So they just want to focus on issues that can win votes, those issues that they can scold the governments, even though they know this is the right thing to do, even though they know that we're doing this for the long-term good of Singapore. Because by scolding the government for every little thing, you win votes. I mean, that's how the game they're playing. Thinking and acting in the long-term good of Singapore, thinking very far ahead, is the hallmark of our success. And this is how PAP intends to do it. We always think long-term ahead. We built the SAF long time ago because we think we have to be able to protect our own sovereignty, defend our own self. We built the CPF system, we built the economic institutions, and so on. So I have not seen any long-term visions from our opponents on how we want to tackle the long-term challenges. For example, the aging population. We are facing this aging population. Our baby boomers are going into retirement. What are they going to do about it? Again, these are all inconvenient questions because the solutions will be tough, and then you will go against what they were trying to do. So what they will keep doing is saying that the government is not doing well, they failed, and so on. And then, to want Singaporeans to believe that this is not the government that we should vote for. Like what the lyrics of this year's NDP theme song say, it isn't easy to build something out of nothing. Okay, I'm not about to sing the song. I think we leave it to Jesus to do it, in this rally. But, I find these lyrics very meaningful. It isn't easy to build something out of nothing. But it's also not difficult to destroy something into nothing. And, we just need a wrong government. So let's all be watchful of the opportunist politicians who may do that. Again, I say we are not a perfect country. The government is not perfect. We can always improve and do more. But in any case, there's no such thing as perfect country and perfect government. What we can do is to try to be less imperfect, build on our solid foundations, strengthen our fundamentals, so that we can not only be a survivable country, but a thriving city of hope for all Singaporeans, for our children, for ourselves, for our seniors. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Liang. Can we give a cheer for him? Liang Enghua, Liang Enghua, Liang Enghua,
Liang Enghua. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have the next candidate for Holland Bukit Timah GRC, Mr. Christopher De Souza.
接下来，让我们欢迎下一位候选人迪苏扎先生。
Residents of Holland Bukit Timah GRC. Politics is about sincere service and sincere action. At the last rally, I shared heart to heart why it is a priority of mine to visit families in their homes. 10,800 home visits to HDB homes, to private apartments, and landed homes over the past 5 years. Why? Because we care. We care for you more than an expression of words can capture. To talk is easy, very easy. Action, much harder. Each home visit is important, meaningful, precious. Moments are shared, and an understanding of the family is forged. I think you know me, what I stand for, how I have worked hard for you, and how I represent you in Parliament and serve you, your families, your children in our constituency. My teammates share these values. Our values, beliefs, ideals are met with action. At the last rally, I shared one example of a grandmother, a constituent who I serve, who was in her 60s and single-handedly raising her grandson because her own daughter was in prison due to drugs. We partnered her through difficulties and she overcame. I shared this at the last rally because it reflected why we do what we do for the residents we serve. It is one of many, many examples. Tonight, I would like to share another example, another life partnered. 4 years ago, just after the last election, I was visiting Ulu Pandan, the constituency I serve, and I met a young man. After exchanging pleasantries, I sensed he was needing more encouragement, more assurance. We sat down and talked. He shared with me how his father had racked up huge gambling debts and how his father had just upped and left home one day. His mother's life collapsed, his younger brother was at a loss, and he himself carrying a heavy burden of responsibility when only a teenager. He opened up more. He said money was tight and his own world heavy to bear. I said, hang in there, we will step in. We did so with financial assistance, but more importantly, with a sense of partnership and encouragement for him. He knew, and knew well, a community was behind him. He would share about how difficult it was to reconcile within himself that his situation was born out of his father's gambling addiction. Very difficult to reconcile for a teenager. But slowly his angst was channeled into a deep determination to overcome. He changed. I saw it in him. We kept in touch during his national service, regularly meeting in the constituency. We were genuinely interested in his life, how he was faring. One day I got a call in my law office from him. I had given him my number because I wanted him to know that there was someone he could speak to should it get too tough. This time, his voice was chirpy, hopeful. He had received his A-level results and received straight A's. I was overjoyed over the phone. I remember being overjoyed over that phone call. He too. He was thrilled. What next, I said. He said he dreamed of pursuing engineering and was applying to universities he read about in his childhood days. I said, go for it. Some months later, he called and said he got accepted into a top engineering faculty in Europe. It was a dream come true, but one stumbling block: finance. No finance. I said, hang in there, keep that dream alive. Let's print out the list of scholarships available and talk through which ones you can apply for. He listed 10, asked if I would be his referee. I said, yes, certainly, count on me. You personify overcoming adversity. I will be your referee. His ability to overcome adversity shone through. One stat board said, yes, we give you a scholarship. Why? Because that young man embodied, personified overcoming adversity, selling cakes after school hours to make ends meet. He is now pursuing engineering, his dream, in a university he read of in his childhood. That is grit, determination, and perseverance. That is being Singaporean. We are in close touch, and he is passing it on in our constituency, passing it on by mentoring younger ones in Ulu Pandan, in Holland Bukit Timah GRC, and inspiring them. What he says, he walks the talk. I have been through it, he says to them who need the encouragement, so can you. He is on his feet, his mother is on her feet, his brother is standing tall. This is why we do what we do. Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan, Miss Sim Ann, Mr. Liang Eng Hua. Partnership, service, action. Politics is about lives, not talk. It's about lives. But partnering the vulnerable does not stop at the work we do in the constituency. It doesn't stop at the work that I do in the constituency, nor any of my 3 teammates. It doesn't just stop at the constituency, though constituency work is extremely important. Helping the vulnerable has a place, a rightful place and significant place in Parliament. I shared at the last rally up north in Bukit Panjang, and now I share down south here, that it is this strong core belief to partner the vulnerable that drove me to argue for, initiate the Prevention of Human Trafficking Private Members Bill. I shared at the last rally that after 10 interagency meetings were held, 6 public consultations, engaging with hundreds of participants, the Prevention of Human Trafficking Bill gained unanimous support of the MPs present in the House because they were convinced after hours of debate of its ethos, its value system, its values statement. It being a private member's bill, my focus was singular: to partner the vulnerable and have them overcome. I could not have done it without you, the residents of Holland Bukit Timah, who encouraged me through the process, and each one of my teammates from Holland Bukit Timah, who stayed late into the night in Parliament that November 2014 to vote yes in favor of that bill. Friends, it is about partnership, service, action. Tonight I would like to share another example of how I have argued in Parliament for compassion and care to be shown to the vulnerable, often unseen parts of our community. I have raised how we must accord care and concern to women, to ladies who are abused domestically. My position in Parliament translated into working very closely with a volunteer group of committed women and men who wanted to provide shelter to teenage girls who had been physically and emotionally abused. Because of the positions I had taken in Parliament on this, it was a natural partnership. We worked closely together on the ground. I was struck by their commitment not only to shelter the girls, but to rehabilitate them. We worked together to convince MSF and SLA, and I dare say with support from my colleagues in Cabinet, to provide a black and white bungalow within the constituency to home the shelter at a highly discounted rent. They do marvelous work for the voiceless. I have met the girls who have graduated from the rehabilitation program. They are full of hope, optimism, and goal-getting spirit. A complete turnaround. Constituency leads into Parliament, leads into advocacy, leads into results. For who? For Singapore. For whom? For Singaporeans. Partnership, service, action. My friends, talk is very easy. Action, commitment, day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out. That is a lot more difficult. But that is what politics is about, and must be about, and must continue to be about. Singular focus to uplift, overcome, partner, and to have the residents we serve stand tall again. For difficulties do not discriminate. They come to all of us. And we must partner, each of the residents we serve, to stand tall again. It comes with a deep sense of duty toward and commitment to the residents we serve. And these too are the values of my teammates, Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan, Ms. Siman, Mr. Liang Enghua. I would like now to move on to a topic close to my heart, the defense of our nation. I've written about it in the Straits Times at length, debated it in Parliament. It is not an academic topic for me. I shared at the last rally that I grew up in a military family. My father signed on in 1965 as an officer when he was 18, chose not to go into medicine. He said, we need to defend this country. No university degree, he entered at 18. Even before NS was formalized, was selected to train as a fighter pilot, helped set up squadrons in the Singapore Armed Forces. He flew in the first Black Knights team. Defense is in my blood, as it is in your blood, as it is in the blood of your wives and your children who support what you do when you wear green, blue, and navy whites, or in the home team. With the Black Knights flying in the early 70s, it made crowds roar, but sent strong signals elsewhere. Today we have the Black Knights and all our servicemen in the SAF pushing that same envelope. It was a message that rang loud and clear when my parents affixed the epaulets on my shoulders during national service and during all the ICTs that I did thereafter, and all the ICTs I'm sure you did too. SDP's proposal to almost halve the defense budget will ambush Singapore's sovereignty. I say this sincerely, straight, eye to my residents. I tell you sincerely, honestly, straight face, no political ambition. This will ambush Singapore's sovereignty. I said that at the last rally. They say cut the defense budget to half of what it is today over 3 to 5 years. In this environment, my friends, in this geopolitical environment, 2015, that is dangerous, opportunistic. But they know they have to cut from somewhere to fund their extreme policies. So easy formula, take from defense. Dangerous. Dangerous. What's their rationale? They put us in the basket of small developed countries and suggest we cut defense because we too are a small developed country. Small, everyone at this rally, everyone watching it on YouTube, know, yes, we are small. But what are these small developed countries they cite, they compare us to? Switzerland, Norway, Finland. My friends, these countries are nestled in the comfort and bosom of Europe. Friends, look at our backyard. Look at our neighborhood. SDP's tax and spend extreme policies need major financing. They say cut from defense. Our peace and sovereignty exist because we have a potent SAF. SDP, I say this to you from my heart. I'm not blinking. I say to you straight, and I say this in all earnestness. Don't make the mistake of saying otherwise from a political soapbox. You cut defense by half, you jeopardize Singapore's sovereignty. Don't jeopardize our sovereignty. I grew up on Changi Air Base with the sounds of jets on their final runs, their final approaches and takeoffs. I said it before and I say it again. It is a sacred duty to keep Singapore safe. Don't ever jeopardize it. To do so, and I say it with a straight face, to do so would be irresponsible. One SDP candidate says that many of us hope that DPM Tharman would have a falling out with the Prime Minister. And he hopes will come out to lead Pakatan Rakyat Singapura. I ask, no, this is a serious topic. I ask the discerning voter watching here tonight, watching this on YouTube, do you think that seeking division in cabinet is a responsible desire? Is hoping for discord among cabinet a responsible thing to seek? Responsible for Singapore? Responsible for Singaporeans? Heart to heart, I tell you, it is a serious misjudgment to desire such discord. I have shared heart to heart with you tonight. That is me. What you see is what you get. My team is the same. Politics for me is a sacred duty. Please don't, SDP, please don't use the election as a political soapbox. To do so is to misunderstand the gravity of the duty we owe to Singaporeans. We owe to the residents we serve. It is a duty I take very, very seriously. Partnership, action, service. Vote for the PAP. Para penduduk GRC Holland Bukit Timah, terima kasih. Terima kasih kerana memberikan pasukan saya sokongan anda. Terima kasih. Penduduk GRC Holland Bukit Timah, kami telah mengunjungi beribu rumah di kawasan GRC ini untuk mendengar dan berkongsi bersama anda dalam masa yang sukar dan masa yang senang. Dengan rasa rendah hati, kami mengharapkan sokongan anda. Undilah PAP. Terima kasih. 谢谢你. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Christopher. Can you show for him? Christopher! 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 Now, let us welcome Ms. Sim and Minister of State, Ministry of Communications and Information, come Ministry of Education, as well as the candidate for Holland Bukit Timah GRC.
让我们欢迎荷兰五级芝麻集选区候选人沈颖女士。沈女士，她也是教育部兼通讯及新闻部政务部长。各位荷兰五级芝麻集选区的选民，各位朋友，女士们、先生们，大家晚上好。跟大家说一句老实话，我还真的不是很习惯在晚上的这个时候站在一个大操场跟大家讲话。为什么呢？因为平时这个时候，我跟我的团队都在做家访，我们一条街一条街的走，我们一个走廊一个走廊的走。我很感谢这么多的居民开门，请我们进入他们的客厅，进入他们的厨房，跟他们一起聊天，了解他们想些什么，了解他们需要一些什么。在过去的4年半里，家访是我最常做的一件事。我统计了一下，在过去4年半，我大概完成了超过250次的家访。每次我们敲门，从40户到80户，我们不敢敲太多，因为我们希望呢，跟每一个居民都可以有时间好好的聊几句。所以这样子加起来的话，过去4年半，可能我应该也敲了有1万个门了。我去做家访的时候，居民们他们都很体谅，他们常常说你辛苦了。可是我想跟大家说，我并不辛苦，因为人民给我们莫大的信任。那么我们呢，就要以最大的努力来回报我们的选民，这是很重要的，这是很重要的，这就是人民行动党政府还有我们的选民之间我们的一种感情。这个感情，我们的居民付出，我们也一定会回报。我想这种感情是很独特的，而且我真的也非常非常感激大家一路来鼓励我，一路来激励我，让我有这个动力为大家做得更多更好。在5级芝麻区，我们因为常常跟居民朋友们一起聊天、一起接触，我们也按照我们居民朋友们的需求，推出了很多计划。在上次群众大会的时候，我有提到，我们进行了多项的社区翻新，增加有盖走廊，进行电梯翻新。在这些不同的计划当中，有一件让我感觉特别开心的，就是我们能够为道义区斗一的居民建一条桥，把我们斗一的这个祖屋区同大家最喜欢的7英里巴沙连接在一起。
虽然说建立条桥好像只是水泥和砖，我们说 bricks and mortar， 好像其实就只是在盖一个基础设施。可是我知道，对于我们的居民朋友来讲，它不单单是一条桥，因为有了这条桥，我们的老年人他们每天要到熟食中心去买东西，他们不用爬下山坡再爬上楼梯。我们的居民朋友如果行动不方便，他们的轮椅可以直接推进我们的熟食中心。他们想买菜的时候呢，再坐我们增添的电梯到楼下去买菜，然后可以原路回来。还有更重要的就是，我知道我们的这座巴沙对我们的居民多么的重要。我们修了这条桥，这个 market 就跑不掉了。除此之外，我们也很关心区里面的年长者，因为我们说家有一老是一宝，所以呢，我们特别关注那些独居的年长者，自己一个人在家的年长者。我们推出了独居无忧的关怀计划，在他们的家里为他们安装感应器。如果他们比方说发生什么紧急的状况，那么我们会有及时的一些人员来联络他们，或者呢到他们的家里去看看他们需要什么样的帮助。不过其实我提的这些只是我们工作的一部分，接下来我们想为大家做的还有很多很多。五级之马是我们新加坡铁道走廊贯穿的一个地方，贯穿了我们整个荷兰五级之马，它将会是一个非常棒的绿色休闲空间。不过在这里面呢，我相信我们在发展这个铁道走廊的时候要注意的事项也很多。比方说，我就知道我们的居民朋友他们希望说这个绿色走廊能够成为一个很出色的一个休闲所在地。可是呢，他们也指出，如果大家都跑来这个铁道走廊的话，如果比方说很多人乱停车，那我们的居民该怎么办呢？所以这些其实都是一些很实际的问题。我相信我们的社区还是需要有一个团队继续的为大家服务，继续的为大家解决这些想得到或者是想不到的问题。我还非常希望能够为我们五级芝麻区的居民增添一个青少年活动中心。我们有乐龄活动中心，我们有乐龄的日间护理设施。那么面对这个托儿，我们有托儿服务，我也希望以后能够有更多的托儿服务。可是青少年这一块呢，我觉得还可以加强。所以呢，我也希望能够引进一个很好的青少年活动中心，为我们的青少年多增添一些有益身心的活动。另外，我们也必须呢继续的同交通部积极探讨，找出一些实际的解决方案，让我们的居民从家里到地铁站或者到最近的巴士站能够更加方便。这些呢都在我们的计划当中。除了服务我们的社区，我也感到很荣幸，在过去的4年半里面，我可以通过政府部门的工作，推行一些我个人觉得非常有意义，而且呢，我认为可以帮助到国人的计划。在教育部，我感到很荣幸有机会负责我们的双语教育政策。我非常坚信，打好我们的双语基础，可以让下一代，让我们新加坡人的下一代，在国际上面临激烈的竞争，能够增强我们本身的能力。我希望我们新加坡的下一代，除了把英语学好，也可以把华语、马来语、淡米尔语学好。这就是为什么我们一直很积极地推动学校、社区一起携手合作，让我们的下一代能够 很好的应用他们的母语。我想我们过去4年半的努力呢，总理他也很肯定，因为他刚刚宣布会加强政府对我们3个母语推广学习委员会的投资，在未来的5年内把这个投资增加至2500万元。有了这笔钱，我们就可以推行更多的计划，跟更多的社区伙伴合作，和更多的社区伙伴合作，把更好的母语活动推广到我们的学校，推广到我们的社区。此外，我也感到很荣幸有机会参与特别需求学生的工作。我们学校里面一定会有一些同学，他们因为有一些特别需求，如果我们没有给他们一些额外的帮助，他们很难跟得上。有一些同学他们在特别学校里面学习，有一些同学他们是在我们的主流学校里面学习。在这2方面，在过去的4年半，我都感到非常的荣幸，有机会参与如何加强我们对于这些同学们的帮助。我很高兴呢，能够推出一些计划，这就包括了我们为特殊学校推出了更多的学习计划，也给他们更多的资源，让他们呢能够把教育办得更好。另一方面呢，我们也针对了在主流学校里面有阅读障碍的同学，我们推出了一个阅读障碍的纠正计划，让学生不需要多花1分钱，也不需要到别的地方，他在自己的学校里面，课后呢就有老师进行小组的额外指导，让这些同学克服他们的阅读障碍，能够跟得上其他同年龄的同学。这个计划现在呢，在大多数的小学都已经开展了。到了明年1月，新加坡所有的小学都会有这个计划。这是我认为一个非常有意义的计划，而且呢，我希望在长远的日子里面，大家呢能够支持我们为有特殊需求的同学做更多的事情，让我们呢帮助他们好好的完成他们的学习。在新闻及通讯部，我也有机会推广翻译，并且呢推广政府沟通能力的加强。那是因为我认为，我也相信我们的政府有很多很好的政策，我们能够为人民带来很多的方便，很多的好处。不过如果我们自己讲不清楚的话，那么大家也感受不到，大家也没有办法从这些政策中获益。所以搞好沟通这个环节是很重要的。所以呢，这些都是我自己个人非常坚信，而且我也觉得是对社区、对国人都很重要的一些计划。我很荣幸有机会参与这些工作，我希望有机会能够连任，希望呢有机会能够继续的为我们的社区、为我们的居民、为我们的国人尽我自己的一份力量。谢谢。要得到这个机会，我们每5年一定要经过大选，这是我们的民主社会，我也觉得非常非常的重要。所以呢，我除了谈谈我们做了些什么，想为大家做一些什么，我觉得可能也很有必要谈一谈我们的对手。在这里想跟大家分享一下，我个人认为不管是处事待人，还是为民服务，我觉得凡事都需要讲道理。当大家呢提出一些不同的看法，那些有道理的，我们呢就一定要想办法看看怎么样进行改进，或者怎么样呢把这些好的意见纳入我们平时的工作当中。不过，如果我们碰到一个不太讲道理的人，那应该怎么办呢？ 我相信大家在生活中有的时候也会碰到一些不讲道理的人。那如果这个人是我们的同学，或者是我们的同事，或者是我们的邻居，我想可能大多数人会采取一种做法，那就是不要去理他。可是我们在大选的时候，不去理会自己的竞争对手，好像是行不通的。所以在这里呢，可能我还是得跟大家分享一下我自己的看法。我们的对手跟上届大选一样，是新加坡民主党 SDP， 现在呢由他们的党魁徐顺全博士领导，而且呢他也在荷兰5级芝麻区挑战人民行动党。这个民主党这位徐博士给我的印象其实就是他们很会出白灯。我们说耍花招，不过我觉得我们平时都说很会出白灯。我觉得全新加坡的这个政坛出白灯，如果徐顺全博士他认第2，没有人敢认第1了。出什么你说什么？白灯多过白明灯哦。这是我们的群众的贡献哈。出什么白灯呢？哇，我看到我看了嘛是 blur， 看了嘛是 blur， 不过没有关系，我在这个眼花缭乱的这个当中我好像看到了1、2招，我讲出来给大家听好不好？ OK， 第一样，我们的徐顺全博士他很喜欢替人家定规矩他定的规矩就 OK 别人定的他就不理。什么规矩呢？有一样他定的规矩很重要，就是我们说往事只能回味，可是他的往事他不允许人家回味别人的往事他可以回味，他的往事别人不可以去回味。因为如果你提起他的往事，就算是家喻户晓的事实，他都会说你在攻击我的人格，不可以攻击我的人格所以这就是徐博士的一项规矩，往事他的往事不可以回味。第2个白灯我大概也看出来他的一点点这个招数第2个白灯，好，你不去说他不要紧，他会自己先骂自己，然后说是你骂他的解释一下。比方说徐顺全博士认为我和王循才部长不应该提他的往事，好，这是他的规矩，我们知道吗？他讲了，然后他还顺便补上一句他讲什么呢？他说如果他们，我想他指的应该是人民行动党的我们啦他说如果他们无法说服你，他们会说徐顺全是一个 liar, a gangster, a psychopath。 他们会说徐顺全是一个骗子，一个流氓，一个精神变态。我就听了这句话，我就觉得很奇怪，因为我想说徐博士，我没有说你是骗子，我也没有说你是流氓，我也没有说你是精神变态者，所以呢，请你不要先骂自己，然后说是别人讲你的。还有一个 pattern number 3第3点，有的时候SDP 他们知道自己的观点没有说服力，呢，他们就来讲一些其他莫名其妙的话。星期六晚上的群众大会，我们荷兰5级芝麻在5级班让举行的群众大会当中，谁有来？有来的举手，谢谢大家当时我们有一位贵宾我们的贵宾是谁呢？就是我们的尚达曼副总理。 尚达曼副总理他在星期六的这个群众大会时，他就指出，如果反对党他们在提出很诱人的福利政策时，他们如果避免谈怎么样去增加税收来提供资金，这是虚伪而且不负责任的。大家说这句话讲得好不好？尚达曼副总理他讲得很好，讲得很好。那么反对党可能也觉得这个有点难反驳嘞。OK，never mind， 他们就出白灯哦。所以呢，今天中午我们的这位 Dr. Paul Tambaya， 我们的这个民主党在荷兰五级之马的候选人之一，他就在波底他就讲，他说很多的反对党暗中希望尚达曼副总理和我们的李显龙总理闹翻，然后呢出来领导众多的反对党形成一个大阵营来对抗人民行动党。哇，居民朋友们，我想问大家，这一招叫什么？这一招叫什么？名堂很多，真的很多。我听了，我都替他觉得有点拍谁嘞。我想到呢，怎么去形容这句话呢？我只能够想到8个字：得意忘形，语无伦次。大家想一想，为什么我们的民主党整天出白灯呢？因为他们想要引开大家的注意力，希望大家不会注意到他们提出的主张其实是对我们的选民、对我们的国人一点好处都没有的。在这里我们既然不可以回味他们的往事，我们就回味一下他们的主张，好不好？回味一下大家注意哦。第一，提高税收。他们想要把个人所得税提高到28%呢，并且呢，打算通过企业所得税征收10亿元。我们已经讲过了，这会严重的影响我们的企业，尤其是我们中小型企业，而且一直想要向富人征收这个税，你只能够到一个限度，因为社会里面其实财富最多的人，他的流动性也最高，他很容易跑到别的地方去。高收入的人能够跑来跑去，我们中等收入的家庭可以跑来跑去吗？所以呢，他的这个征收的这个对象其实是有一些问题的。如果你没有办法向富人征收足够的这个税收，其实这个负担就会落在中等收入家庭的身上。尚达曼副总理他在群众大会上也已经讲得很清楚了就是因为对方反驳不了，所以就出白灯好，我们再回味第2项他们提出来的主张，就是要削减国防开支。他们已经宣布打算减少57.5亿元，也就是至少48%，几乎一半的国防开销。我们已经提过了，放眼现在的国际跟区域形势，我相信这种减法是非常非常不妥当的，这会危害我们的国家安全。第3点，他们提出来要推行非公开市场组屋政策。这是什么政策呢？他的意思就是我们不要让组屋在公开市场上进行买卖可是大家想一下，我们在过去的50年有这么多的新加坡家庭，就是因为组屋的价格稳步上升，而且呢可以在市场上可以进行买卖，所以呢我们的家庭就可以从中获益，分享我们国家经济繁荣的成果。如果我们不让组屋在公开市场上买卖，那么我们变成什么呢？我们本来是居者有其屋， 现在呢，反而我们的居民啊，就从屋主变成租户了嘞。大家想一下，从屋主变成租户，所以你不能够在市场上买卖的时候，那你要小房换大房也好，你要大房换小房也好，通通都不可以了。我想问一下，大家想做屋主还是想做租户？好，刚才我们回味了他们的3种提议哦。那么这些提议其实听起来都是挺奇怪的。那为什么他们会提这么奇怪的政策呢？难道他们不知道这些政策对我们的选民、对我们的国人没有好处，只会增加我们的问题吗？为什么呢？其实我想，因为他们其实对我们人民的日常生活是一点都不感兴趣的。大家知道，上届大选也是我们民主党来挑战人民行动党。啊，这个上届大选啊，也是民主党来挑战人民行动党。他们呢是5年来探望大家一次。在大选期间的时候呢，他们也是忙着开群众大会，他们懒得做家访，他们也懒得提出任何跟荷兰5级芝麻集选区有关的地区的计划。他们通过群众大会不停地喊话，希望能够激起大家的情绪，把他们送进国会。可是大家回顾一下他们的所作所为，他们在国会里面，他们所发表的会是我们人民的声音，还是他们自己的一些野心呢？我想问一下大家，新加坡民主党他们关心的是人民，还是最关心自己？居民朋友们，刚才我已经谈了我们为大家做什么，接下来还想为大家做一些什么。其实大家都知道，我们现在啊站在这里的这块大草地，其实不在我们荷兰5级芝麻选区，它其实呢是在另外一个集选区。所以呢，我很感谢大家今晚抽出宝贵的时间，跑出来跟我们在这个大草地会面。其实啊，居民朋友们，我现在最想做的是什么？我最想做的就是跟大家一起回到我们自己的社区，回到我们的家。接下来，我们的维文部长要跟大家说话。我想跟我们的居民朋友说，请大家继续支持我们。我们这次群众大会结束了，大选结束了，我们大家一起回家。谢谢大家。
Thank you, Miss Sim Ann. Can we give a cheer for her? Woo! Sim Ann.
身影
Sim Ann.
身影
Sim Ann.
身影
Thank you everyone. Right, last but not least, let's welcome the Minister for Environment and Water Resources, as well as the candidate for Holland Bukit Timah GRC, Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan.
荷兰5级芝麻集选区候选人维维医生，他也是环境及水源部长，让我们欢迎他。
Good evening, my friends. I'm so happy. I'm so happy to see all of you. To be honest, I'm so happy. In fact, I'm surprised to see so many of you here. I thank you for making the effort to come here. I am going to ask your permission to make perhaps the most boring speech in my life, but perhaps the most important speech in my life. Can I do that? Friends, it's been 14 years for me in politics. Some people think elections are a game. You win, you lose. Others think, especially at rallies, it's entertainment. You come here to be excited, you cheer, some other people boo, they get their emotions worked up. Some people think it is a debate. Now, I know about debates. I used to be a debater when my hair was less grey. And I enjoyed debating. But my friends, politics, elections, Singapore, and our families are far too important. It is not a game. It is not entertainment. It is not a debate. So let me share with you from my heart how I feel, what I worry about, and what I hope for you and for your families and for mine. I've had the privilege of traveling very widely on government duties. I've had dinner in the Great Hall of the People in Beijing on their National Day. I've sat through formal pageantry at the Presidential Palace in New Delhi. And you know, each time that happened, the thought struck me, if my great-grandparents had not left China and India more than a century ago, do you think that great-grandson would be having dinner in the Great Hall of the People or in the Presidential Palace in New Delhi, India? And the answer is no. It would never have happened. First, I wouldn't exist because Indians and Chinese would not normally have met. Right? And I would probably have been a farmer, a peasant, a tailor, a trader, a printer. Jobs that my great-grandparents did. Right? So the next thought that struck me, okay, so I'm here because I've been blessed to be born in Singapore. Like all of you, we are all blessed to be in Singapore. But am I really so special? I'm not. There are Indians and Chinese far smarter than me, who will work far harder than me. I am not special. Yet, because of the coincidence that my great-grandparents chose to come to Singapore, and because of the coincidence that the Republic of Singapore became a sovereign nation 50 years ago. That's what makes me and makes each of you special. Do you get it? We are special because we are Singaporeans. Now, if you understand that we are special because we are Singaporeans, yes, that's coming too. The PAP certainly had something to do with that, to make us special, right? So then we ask ourselves, 50 years ago, what happened? We didn't fight for independence. We didn't ask to be kicked out of Malaysia, but we got kicked out. Why? Because the PAP and the people of Singapore decided that we would have a multiracial society where we are all equal. All equal. For that, we got kicked out, and suddenly, on the 9th of August 1965, we had to survive. So the point I'm making is that we are special, but we have to be special because otherwise we wouldn't have come about and we will not survive. So the point is to ask, what were the special challenges that confronted Mr. Lee Kuan Yew and the pioneer generation and the pioneer leaders? I think there were three at that point in time. First, how do we create a fair and just society? Because you see, without a fair and just society, people of different races, languages, and religions cannot live side by side. Look around the audience here today. This would be unusual, even in our neighboring countries, because their politics are still race-based. I would be standing here either as an Indian candidate, or a Chinese candidate, or a Malay candidate. Second, having achieved independence because of a belief in an ideal, that's not enough, because the independent sovereign nation of Singapore didn't have enough water, certainly didn't have enough food, didn't have enough finance, it didn't have all the natural resources and all the essentials of life. So economic survival was crucial because you cannot feed your people just on the basis of ideals and talk. You have to feed your people with real food and real water, which you extract, treat, process. And more importantly, unless Singapore was relevant to the rest of the world, we cannot feed ourselves. So that was the second challenge. The third challenge was security. Because we live in a tough neighborhood, we lived in a neighborhood that wasn't very friendly. And my friends, I tell you this, perhaps at the risk of causing diplomatic incidents. I have to travel a lot. I have to negotiate, whether it is about haze or water or climate change. And again, I'm very, very mindful, that people only listen to me because I'm from Singapore. Absolutely right. Because we are from Singapore. And if we were not strong, if we were not successful, if we were not united, if we were not a shining red dot, an example to the other 200 countries in the world, nobody would listen to us. Do you understand how and why we have to be special? So those three things, right? A fair and just society, economic survival, good jobs, and security. And there was one unforgettable message that Mr. Lee Kuan Yew shared with us. He said, no one owes us a living. No one owes us a living. Now, my friends, 50 years later, are we wealthier? Are we successful? But let me ask you, is this statement that Mr. Lee Kuan Yew made, no one owes us a living, Is this statement still true? Obviously, isn't it? Right? In fact, not only is this statement still true, but the first three foundational challenges of a fair and just society, economic relevance and survival, and security, are still absolute parameters for our survival. So the point I'm trying to make is that in all the excitement of politics and elections, never forget our fundamental constraints. Because when people come up with ideas and people debate or people entertain, you must never make the mistake of forgetting that actually life and death, survival, prosperity, and unity is at stake. That's how serious elections are. For my team, we view the electoral and the political process at two levels. First, do we have a relationship? And second, do we enjoy your trust? Let me go into this in some detail. We are all human beings. We all have families, friends, colleagues, associates. Let me ask you this. How do you develop a relationship? A relationship takes time. You need to meet. You need to do things together. You need to enjoy times together. In fact, relationships have ups and downs. Sometimes you even need to fight together. The point I'm making is that a relationship is not a one-night stand, you know. It's not just finding the most interesting, the most entertaining partner, but it's about someone whom you're going to spend another 50 years or more. Many people, many opposition politicians look down on PAP politicians for spending so much time on the ground, for knocking on your doors humbly, for looking at drains, chasing rat burrows, getting rid of mosquitoes. They look down on us. But they even tell us all your local plans, not important. In fact, the opposition doesn't even offer any local plans. There are no plans. They say there's no need for local plans. All that will be done automatically. Right? They don't even plant trees. No, but you see, the point I'm actually trying to make is that we do all these things because of a relationship. Because I want you to know that I'm there for you, that I will look after you, that I will protect your children, that I will invest and build your neighborhoods. Thank you. So, that's why to us, an election is not something that happens over 9 days. It is a continuous activity. It is a relationship. The second dimension to that is trust. Now, trust is a very difficult thing to achieve, you know. Trust is something that can be gained over time through behavior, through actions, very easily lost. And if it's broken, to put it together again, very difficult. One key advantage the PAP has had is that trust. That people knew whether we did the popular thing or the unpopular thing, that we did it for you, with you, and for Singapore. It's not just a slogan, you know. It's really about trust. So if you understand that it is about a relationship, a living, viable relationship, and about trust, then you realize someone who comes and asks for your vote doesn't bother really to engage or to do anything on the ground. Is that a relationship? Is that trust? But you see, my friends, if you've had a relationship for 50 years, 50 years is a very long time. It's like being married for 50 years. Most of us have not yet been married that long. There will always be opportunities for third parties to come in. No, let's be honest, but there will always be opportunities. Now, how do third parties come in? They come in when they sense that the relationship is not close, when the relationship is not strong, or when there are issues that are not yet resolved. And the opposition in Singapore will campaign on the basis of the politics of anger, envy, jealousy, class division. They will play up issues that can work up your emotions. So if you look at what's happening today, we see a party coming to our home telling us that you should be angry, you should be feeling shortchanged, you should be feeling jealous, and you should have a political system based on paralysis and gridlock. They call it checks and balances. There is a proper way of having checks and balances. But actually what they're trying to do is to barge in to our home. And therefore, they sometimes do things that look silly to us. One example, just this afternoon at Fullerton, one candidate said he hoped that our DPM Taman would have a falling out with our Prime Minister, join the opposition, form a grand coalition of opposition parties. I call it a motley crew. This person is daydreaming. No, it's not a matter of daydreaming. This reveals the mentality, the mindset, and the attitude that they have to politics. I have just one message to send to the SDP. In the PAP, we do not have a tradition of backstabbing our mentors. And do you know, we do not have a tradition of backstabbing our mentors. The question you should ask is why? Why do we not have this tradition? The reason is because in the PAP, if you're a member of the PAP, and if you offer yourself as a leader within the PAP, it's not about you. It is about Singapore. First, party. Second, the individual doesn't count. The individual is relevant only as so far as we can serve the country and serve the party. So you will not get this kind of behavior and this kind of thinking in the PAP. And that should also give confidence to our people. That is also why Singapore remains exceptional and special. Now, having said that, the other way which they are trying to barge into our homes, we can only close the door on September the 11th. No, but it's not, my friends, it's not so simple, because there's also a matter of the heart. And I want to talk about compassion. All right. And for that, I want to share again a story which I've shared several times with several of you, but I see this is a new crowd with many new faces. So allow me to repeat my story. I told you just now, my great-grandparents came from India and China, more than a century ago. About 87 years ago, my grandfather died when he was on a business trip to China. He died, leaving my grandmother with 2 young children and my own mother not born yet. When my mother was born, the family was in turmoil. The only breadwinner has died. They received support from my grandfather's brothers, but life was tough for my mother. She described being, food, luxuries, could not be taken for granted. She became skinny. She told me she lost all her front teeth. She had tuberculosis, and this is 87 years ago. Having tuberculosis then is not a joke. And she met my father. She said, I'm probably infertile, and I told you all she was wrong because she had 5 children. But this experience deeply impacted her life and affected her children and my values. So let me share some of, and there was another incident. When the Japanese bombs were dropping and people were rushing to shelters, she knocked her head, and my auntie told me that after that concussion, she never did so well in school as she used to. So let me share with you what these experiences that my mother went through, and therefore what values I have. Number one, I believe that life can be tough, life can be unfair, life can be unpredictable, bad things can happen to good people, and there will always be people who need help. Always be people who need help. Second lesson, we need our families, we need community support, and you do need governments to come in to provide another level of support. Third lesson, work hard. When a family does not have wealth, 80 years ago, the only way for my mother's family to make good was to study hard, work. Even if you didn't enjoy your work, they didn't talk about work-life balance. You worked as hard as you could, as long as you could, in order to make an honest day's living. Fourth lesson from my mom, live within your means. Never spend more than what you earn. Always save something behind. Fifth lesson, and I shared that the other day also. My mom died too early, but she wanted to leave something for her grandchildren. I saw her arranging to leave small gifts to her grandchildren. And it was painful and touching that every dollar that she gave them was a dollar that she did not spend, a dollar that she did not use, a dollar that she had saved for them. You see, my friends, this concept of leaving a legacy, leaving something extra to your children. The sixth lesson I learned was that we must never allow bombs to fall on Singapore again. Never allow that to happen. So my friends, if you add up these lessons I've learned, and in fact, if you ask yourself, I think for all of us here, these are not my personal values. I think all of you share these same values, right? You all share the same values. So now, the question is, in this day and age, we are a successful country. We're a sovereign nation. We have a strong armed forces. I'm going to read out a whole list of things which I think we should be proud of. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the world. We have healthy reserves. We are one of only 12 countries which is AAA rated. We actually have one of the lowest tax regimes and yet still progressive in the world. We have an honest, credible government. We have strong, friendly, respectful bilateral relations, not only with our neighbors, but even with global powers. We have the security provided by the SAF and the Home Team. We have the world's highest rate of home ownership. We have great schools. People will say stressful, but the point is our students do disproportionately well internationally, anywhere in the world. We have great facilities. If you go to the ITE, any of the ITEs in Singapore, there's more facilities in our ITE than in many universities in many first world countries. We have an education system that has been changing over the years to provide more flexibility, to provide more options to diverse skill sets. We have one of the world's best healthcare outcomes. So I'm not talking about costs here. I'm talking about life expectancy, health, child mortality, maternal mortality, all the standard parameters of whether a health system works or not. Ours is amongst the best. We have a clean and green Singapore. We have a vibrant arts and music and culture scene. Even our fundamental vulnerabilities from the beginning, water, we are now, paradoxically, selling more water to Malaysia than we ever did before. A few days ago, PUB announced we're building our fourth desalination plant. Our water companies compete and get business across the world. I'm sharing all this not to boast, but I'm sharing all this so that you understand that we are a successful nation with much to celebrate and much to congratulate each other for. We should be happy. We should be happy, we should be proud. But this doesn't mean we are perfect. There are fundamental challenges confronting us. And I will cite you 3. First, climate change. Whether you like it or not, the fact is more and more carbon dioxide is going into the air and the global temperatures are rising. What that means for a little island, 25% of our land is reclaimed land. When the sea levels rise, when weather patterns change and you get droughts and you get more intense storms. All those things are going to happen at the same time. And they're going to get worse over the next century. Certainly by SG 100, we will be dealing with the consequences of climate change. Next, globalization. When we started off in 1965, China and India were not part of the global economy. India was doing import substitution, China was a communist economy. There was far less competition. Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, in his wisdom, when we got kicked out of Malaysia, said we have to be a global city. We have to open our boundaries, welcome foreign companies and foreigners, so that we can compete and be relevant to the world. But you see, my friend, what changed in 1978 when China connected to the global economy? 1991, when India connected to the global economy, is that suddenly more than 2 billion people suddenly were competing on the same economic platform. So, my friends, it is true that we are facing more competition now, because never before in economic history have suddenly 2 billion people come on stream online at the same time. So even now, as we have political arguments about foreigners, about competition, yes, we can refine and we should refine our policies, but I need you all to understand that there is a global trend which we cannot cut ourselves off from. Any politician who tells you he can shield you, insulate you, protect you from all global competition is selling you koyo. Because, in fact, we have to make sure that Singaporeans always are special, and then we earn our place in India, China, Washington, New York, London. Do you see the point? We cannot insulate and cut ourselves off. We have to uplift ourselves. We have to make ourselves special, and we make ourselves special because of our system, because of our unity, because of our team, because of our education, because of our honesty, integrity, and the way we do things. There is a third global trend. There is a third global challenge confronting us, and that is technology. You know, in this election, people say, oh, this is going to be an internet election. Everybody's got smartphone and everyone is sharing WhatsApp and Facebook statuses. But social media is only part of the story, you know. The internet, communications, publications, the Internet of Things, big data analytics, 3D printing, all this is going to completely transform the economy of the world. The way things are made, designed, produced, shared, transported, all this is going to change. And anyone who assumes that, no, we want the world to be what it was last year or 10 years ago, my friend, that is not an option. Prime Minister asked me to lead the Smart Nation effort. It's not because I enjoy playing with computers. Yes, I do enjoy playing with computers, but it's not really about that. In fact, it's not even about computers and technology. It's about giving opportunities to Singaporeans, to prepare Singaporeans for a new world where everything is going to be transformed. And the thing I am most afraid of is that every time a technological revolution has occurred in human history, there's a period of dislocation, great unemployment, and inequality. Inequality is a political issue, but inequality is not just caused by politicians. In fact, it is because of technological changes that are going to wipe out jobs, wipe out production lines, Can you imagine? We already have driverless trains. I was supposed to take a driverless car, except the election came here, so I couldn't take my ride last year. But no, not a Google car, developed in Singapore. But can you imagine the impact on jobs? And if any politician tells you you don't need to relearn and upskill and learn new things and use skills future and keep your schools and universities, ITEs and polytechnics updated, they are bluffing you. So the point I'm making is that we are confronting major challenges in the next 50 years. And if we spend our time entertaining each other, quibbling about details, and miss the big picture, our children will be in trouble. So specifically for Singapore, what are we concerned with? One final topic I want to deal with is compassion. We need, you see, Singapore is one of the fastest aging societies in the world. Fastest. Singapore, with our current fertility rate, is also potentially one of the fastest shrinking populations in the world. Many opposition politicians like to talk about 6.9, and they use it to hit us on the head with. My friends, I tell you, my greater fear is that our population will never go anywhere close, or never go much beyond 6. Because if your fertility rate is low, and if your economy is not booming, and people don't want to come, you won't have the problem of worrying about 6.9, The greater threat, in fact, is stagnation, aging, and shrinkage. Now, a population that is aging, that is shrinking, will have old people who need help. It will have sometimes poor people who need help because technology has moved on, jobs have disappeared. It will have sometimes disabled people who need help. It will have displaced professionals and technicians who need help. In fact, the number of people who are going to need help may actually grow in the near future. Now, if you are designing a system, not for one election, but for the long term, to provide help and express compassion sustainably, there are two models. The first model has been tried for over 60 years. It's called the Western welfare state. This model consists of universal benefits funded by tax. That model works. No, it can work. It works if your population is growing, your population is young, many incomes are going up, many people are able to pay tax, then you can fund universal benefits. But such a system always means high taxation. And as DPM Tharman explained 2 days ago, if you have universal benefits, a key feature of that system is high taxes for the middle class. And even more dangerously, the problem with such a system is that eventually, when your population ages or shrinks, you go bankrupt. Europe and some European countries are already going bankrupt. Even the American Social Security system is going to face a fiscal crisis within the next 1 or 2 decades. That means there's not enough tax dollars going in to fund all the benefits that have been promised. Even Japan, now the Japanese are just as hardworking as us, But even the Japanese social security system is in trouble because Japan has aged and its population is falling. So that model, the Western welfare state, I put to you and I put to the opposition candidates, is a failed model, and is not a model that we should adopt because it's fashionable, because I make trips to Europe, receive fees to make speeches there, and therefore copy their ideas and bring it back to Singapore and offer it to Singaporeans. It is a route to disaster. There is another model. I call it the Singapore model. In the Singapore model, we look after people who need help. But we do it on the basis of personal and family responsibility. We save, remember, live within your means. We save, we take insurance, and then we do targeted subsidies. Do you see the difference there? The Western model is universal benefits funded by tax. Our model, personal, family responsibility, savings, insurance, and targeted subsidies. The value of our Singapore model, which is unique, is that we can make sure people who need help receive help. We don't run out of money, and the reserves are not raided. I'll give you an example of that. For the Pioneer Generation Package, $8 billion put aside. We didn't pass the bill to our children. In any other country in the world, such a package would have worked by passing the bill to the children. In our case, we took it straight away, present budget, settled, accounted for. So, my friends, our Singapore model works. Of course, we can make it better. So, for CPF, we are making it better. We have CPF Life. And of course, the opposition is trying to say, no, I want to take everything out at 55. Now, I think all that's arguable, but the fundamental principle is this. As we all live longer lives, we all need a pension. And the best way to have a pension is to have a lump sum to buy an annuity, and that $160,000 will give you $1,200 plus for life. If you want a smaller sum of money, you can leave a smaller sum of money in there. If you want more, you can also leave more. So the changes which we are making is to provide more flexibility. You can take a lump sum out at 65. You can choose how much you want, a different range of the sum that you want to put in there. They call it basic, standard, and extended. And you choose how much retirement pension you want to receive. For MediShield, the biggest innovation this year is MediShield Life. Why is it a major innovation? Because it is universal. Everyone is going to be covered, including pre-existing disease, including congenital. Everyone is going to be covered. The opposition tries to scare you by saying, there is high deductibles. But they don't bother to really check how the system is supposed to work. And the system will start from 1st November. So what we are saying, now, I know a bit about healthcare. I used to be a surgeon. I used to run the Singapore General Hospital, and I'm now a member of the cabinet. Healthcare costs keep going up. Why? Because as doctors, we have new drugs to give you. We have new surgical procedures we can do for you. We got new robots that can do new surgery. Healthcare costs goes up. The question is, how do you make sure it is affordable? And in the Singapore model, not the Western welfare model, in the Singapore model, we must make sure we save enough, insure enough, and have targeted subsidies so that everyone who needs healthcare gets it. When you're dealing with healthcare, the serious issue is that there are three dimensions which you're trying to balance. quality, cost, and access. And no country in the world has a perfect system. I worked in the United Kingdom, in London. NHS, free. Free, so that means low price. But access is a problem. You wait long time before you get your procedure. In America, high costs, but not universal access because many people are left out. In Singapore, our current system, and plus the new modification, guarantees every Singaporean access, 100% access to care, reasonable and honest costs, and high quality. We have that. We have anywhere, I take you on anywhere in the world, we have it. And I'll tell you this, as the CEO of SGH, I never had to worry about bad debts for someone in C class because there was always Medifund available. So don't get scared by politicians telling you healthcare will bankrupt you in Singapore. You make sure you're on MediShield Life, make sure you pay your premiums, make sure you take full advantage of the subsidies that the government will provide you, and I can guarantee you that everyone will be looked after. But now, there will be further improvements because, as I said, the Singapore system is not perfect. It can be improved. But don't make the mistake of completely dismantling a model that works. It has worked, and with appropriate modification, it will continue to work, and it will serve us well. So, my friends, I want to conclude on this note. We are a successful country. We have good reason to stand tall, to be proud, and to celebrate. We are going to make our country even greater, even more special. We are going to look after every single person. We are going to look after every single person who needs help, and we will make sure we do not pass bills to the next generation. We will make sure the next generation has a legacy which will allow them, my children, your children, to do even better, to reach that glorious future. So my friends, Majulah Singapura, I wish you all the very best of health, success, and happiness. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Vivian. Thank you so much. Come everyone, can you give it up to Dr. Vivian? Vivian!
Let's cheer for Dr. Vivian.
Vivian!
Wei-Wen!
Vivian!
Wei-Wen!
Vivian!
Wei-Wen!
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all the candidates of Holland Bukit Timah GRC. Once again, we have Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan, Miss Sim Ann, Mr. Liang Yinghua, Mr. Christopher D'Souza, and together with them, the former MP, Mrs. Yifu Yishun. So presenting to you, Holland Bukit Timah GRC. Woo!
Our dream team of Holland Bukit Timah GRC. Okay, residents of Holland Bukit Timah GRC. Now, I say, Majulah. You say, Majulah.
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 Woo! Thank you everyone. We look forward to all your support, and please vote for PAP.
Yes， 请投人民行动党一票。谢谢大家今晚出席我们的群众大会，祝你有一个愉快的晚上。大家晚安，谢谢 ，Thank you。
Terima kasih semua.
Nandri.
谢谢你们 ，Thank you everyone.
感谢。
keep going to upgrade, 你手比较好看。啊，不是。